As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today's going to be a little different. I have an IP lawyer extraordinaire. Nice guy. He's a lawyer, but don't hold that against him. Marc Misthal. Did I say that correctly?
Absolutely.
Wow, because it's tough. You know, the S, the T, there's a sh, there isn't a sh, and all that stuff. So, Marc is a principal attorney at oh God, these last names. Offit Kerman.
Offit Kerman.
Yes, and he is in charge of the intellectual property practice at the group, which means trademarks, copyrights, patents, all the fun stuff that you don't want to deal with, but you need to deal with. I mean, especially if it's patentable, if it's trademarkable, you should probably trademark it. And then if you trademark it, which Marc will get into this because he's the lawyer, I'm not. You got to protect the trademark. So you need someone like Marc on your side.
We'll make a lawyer out of you yet.
Exactly. I've been around the block a few times. Exactly. So he's a wide range of clients worldwide. He counsels businesses spanning diverse industries, fashion, apparel, computer technology, hospitality, so on and so forth. Pretty much if it can be patented, trademarked, copywritten, you got to talk to Marc. Pretty much what it is. And you deal with the patent trademark office. And you're on, and you deal with the proceedings under the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy. It's a long one, and so you've been around the block a little bit. Oh yeah, sometimes the feds come up with good names. Other times they're either good and they're clever, or they're awful. They're god awful, which is really the UDRP. The
UDRP.
Exactly. Hey, Marc, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you? I was trying to stay warm today.
Oh, it's freezing here today. And it's gonna be freezing when this episode comes out, so we're not dating ourselves either. So how did this all get started? How did you get into law? Let's start that off. Like, what made you want to become a lawyer? Because I mean, that's tough. I mean, you law school, all that stuff, and then people don't like you.
What made me want to get into law? Well, I was always interested in the disputes that creatives would have. I was always following the news in the movie business. As always, you hear a lot of this one suing this one for stealing this idea. So when I was younger, I followed that a lot. And that seemed to me to be the right area for me. And
were you argumentative child?
It depends on who you ask.
Exactly. I think my son's gonna be a lawyer at some point because he argues and negotiates. He's gonna be good if he ever becomes a lawyer. So.
Yep. Well, I'm sure my parents would say yes. I was argumentative.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. A lot of entrepreneurs come out. They, a lot of them start off. They hang their shingle. A lot of them don't even LLC yet. They don't know what the hell they're doing. A lot of times it was, people we've had on this podcast. The way they become about entrepreneurship is not like, I'm going to start a business. It's more like you get fired and I'm sick of being fired and laid off. I want to start a business. and then they don't really realize there's a lot more to it than just hanging a shingle. Like there's the EIN number, which is the most important number that you'll get, and the fastest thing you'll ever get from the IRS. Literally, you press a button and they give you a number to pay them. So,
but you got to do, as you said it at the top of this, you got to start out and you got to protect the IP, and you got to do it from the start.
Yeah, because someone can,
the longer you wait, the harder it gets. Having IP in place is something that investors want to see. If you get to the stage where you're asking people to invest, they want to see you've taken steps to invest, to protect yourself. And there are certain deadlines.
Oh, wow.
Patents have deadlines by which they have to be filed. In the US, you have to file a patent application within 1 year of first public disclosure of the invention.
You shouldn't sit on that kind of stuff.
But if you don't do it, you're out of luck.
It's free. It's fair game.
Yeah, you cannot get a patent, and there are other countries in the world where you have to file the patent application before public disclosure.
Oh, wow.
So,
but then there's China. That doesn't matter. You can get ripped off regardless. So,
well, if you want to do anything in China, you have better had filed something there for patent, trademark, or copyright. Otherwise, it's going to be even harder than it used to be.
It's going to be really hard over there. Yeah, because I know a lot of people have developed stuff, and they're like, it's just not worth chasing after China at this point.
And these things don't happen overnight.
Yeah,
right.
No, it takes forever.
Patent applications can take years to become a patent. In the U.S., you file a trademark application in the U.S. Right now, it's taking the trademark office about 9 months just to look at the applications.
Oh, geez.
There are countries that take even longer. So it's not great, but it's not the worst out there.
It's not 9 months. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you have the common law trademark in the meantime. So
right.
If you're first to, I mean, I've paid attention to this. I have a lot of common law trademarks. I need to talk to you after this about getting my actual them turned into trademarks. But
sure.
No, but I mean, you have the common law trademark means you're the first to market with that mark.
Right.
In the meantime, so you're kind of in quotes protected.
Well, it's more than in quotes. It's if you had to really enforce and take somebody to court, you could. On the other hand, oh yeah, you don't need a registration to get into court. But the more common situation is there's an infringer online.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs. Also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Somebody is on Amazon. Somebody is on Temu.
It's tough to get at them, yeah.
If you want to take action against them, you're going to have a much easier time if you have a trademark registration.
It's easier.
Or if you have a copyright, exactly. You have a copyright registration. It's much easier to get things taken down. So you want to have that protection in place sooner rather than later, because what you don't want to do is be out there in the marketplace, be doing very well, have people start copying things.
Having a target on your back, is saying, let's go after this guy, exactly.
And then you've got to wait to get the protection.
The paper, yeah.
Right. So you want to have that. So if
Mm-hmm.
and when it happens, you're ready to go and ready to take action,
Yeah.
because you can't get these things in a matter of days.
You can't. No, it's nothing but the government, except for the EIN number is fast.
That you can get quickly.
That is insane how fast you can get EIN number. Even if you decide you don't want it, it's like you got it. Oh, wow. Okay. That was too fast.
In fact, you can expedite a copyright application.
Oh, really?
Well, they charge for it. It's about an additional $800 to expedite it because they don't want to do it.
No, it's a pain in the butt. Yeah, I get it.
So it's much better to get these things done
Mm-hmm.
off the bat. Yes, it's an expense, but it's an investment in the company and an investment in protecting yourself, because if you don't do it right away, later on, it's going to be much more expensive to address.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure you've seen some horror stories where the entrepreneur starts out, gets somewhere, and it's less like, oh, man. Now
Yeah,
you have to go fight things, and you're like, well, now we got to file this, and it's longer. And honestly, lawyers, the longer it takes, the more money they're charging you. So it's like,
look, it's true if you're being charged on an hourly basis, no question about it. But I mean, we've had clients.
even retainer. I mean, like you got to think about that. If it's going to be a pain in the butt retainer, you're going to charge more because it's going to be a pain in the butt. And you're going to allocate. You're going to know it's going to take X amount of time to do something. Yeah.
It depends on what we're doing, and it depends on what it is. Certain things are charged on a fixed fee basis.
Also,
Certain
it does
things are
happen. That's good.
certain things are charged hourly. Um, if I'm working with somebody, I like to have a very open conversation. This is what we can do. This is what the cost is going to be.
Yeah, I
This is
know a
what
lot of
we
people with
estimate the
lawyers are always
cost.
worried about the. I mean, hourly, even with web design, they're always like, well, I don't do hourly for that reason because it's a pain in the butt for me to keep track of. And the sky is the limit with hourly versus if I say it's going to be X, and if I'm good at what my job, it's going to stay at X, even if it goes beyond where I think it should.
Yeah,
It's nice to kind of keep things with people like to budget stuff.
right. And we try and work with that when we can. Sometimes we can do that, and sometimes
Yeah,
we can't.
depends on how
But
much
I
the
like
work is. Yeah.
I like to have, a frank, open conversation about that, so people know what's involved and what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Because otherwise, people get unhappy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, especially when you get the bill and you're like, wait a second.
Right.
Wait a second.
Right.
I
And
know it's gonna be
we
this expensive, and it's just like, come on. I mean, the time is money, and people got to realize that, especially when you're an entrepreneur, time is money. I mean, if anything, entrepreneurs need to understand that their time is money. So is Mark's, and that and they have to evaluate. All right, my time, I want to be valued. So therefore, I need to value the other person's time as well, and realize that you're not gonna get something for free.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's an investment,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's an investment in the company. And
And it's appreciable, isn't it? I mean, it adds value to your company if you have a
oh,
trademark.
well, I mean, it goes back to what I said before about
Mhm.
investors, right? If you start getting big, you want investors, you want to scale up your business, you need additional funds. You show the investors that you've got IP,
Yeah,
they're going to be, they may ask you for it when
yeah.
you go and do your rounds of investing. They may say, "What kind of IP do you have? What do you have?
Mm.
How is it protected?" I mean, watch what happens on Shark Tank,
Oh my god, all the time. Yeah,
right? I mean, they ask for, "Do you have a patent? Do you have a trademark? What do you have?"
the house is protected, especially now that it's really disclosed. Now it's really out there.
Yeah,
You better damn well have a trademark or lease on your stuff before you go to Shark Tank.
yeah, you've got to have something. So it's not,
Mm-hmm.
they're if they're asking for it to make an investment, other people are going to ask for it too.
Yeah. So, in your mind, what is the best steps for a entrepreneur to do? Obviously, get your business LLC or inked or whatever that, get it, incorporated in some way. But
I
then do you
think
think the next step is get your all your stuff trademark, copyrighted, patented, like next
I think
step, or like what do you think?
I think once as you're forming your company, start talking to an IP lawyer.
Yeah.
Start talking to one. Talk to them about what you're going to do, what your plans are, and let them work with them to come up with a plan for how you're going to protect. Think about what markets are you interested in? Where are you going to manufacture?
Oh, that's a big one, especially if you're in China. You want to be,
You want
yeah,
protection where you're going to manufacture, because there are situations where the manufacturer goes in and registers somebody else's trademark and says, "Oh, we were doing it to protect you," but then they've got the trademark and
it's
can
on yeah,
really make a mess out of things. They could make that product bear with that mark and sell it to somebody else and not
exactly,
tell
or do it
you.
in their market or go on Temu, you
Right.
know.
So the first step is really to talk to a trademark lawyer. You come up with a trademark, you want to make sure you get an opinion that it's clear,
Yeah,
that you're not going to
I know.
infringe.
I've talked to some people, and they're like, Entrepreneurs Enigma is like so not worth trademarking because the Entrepreneurs magazine will come after you. So I'm like, all right.
Yes.
So I'm like, I looked at it real fast. I talked to an attorney. At that point we weren't. I was talk to you, but I didn't talk to you. But it was just like
Yep.
Entrepreneurs Enigma is too broad, and I'm like, you know what? If someone comes to me and says don't use it, I have entrepreneurs comes to me and says they want to use it. I'm like, whatever. There's certain things. This like I remember back in the day I was going to do Skunk Works,
Yep.
social media Skunk Works. Now, if I wanted to fight it with Lockheed, they don't have a stand on from what I heard because everyone's using Skunk Works for different things. It's almost in the colloquialism.
Right.
But they sent me a cease and desist, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't even start the project. I bought the domain name. I gave them the domain name. I said, go have fun with it. I'm like, get lost. Thank you for getting to me first before I got some things
Right.
running. I mean, they were a little dickish about it though. They weren't very nice about it. I'm like, you could have said please, and I would have given it to you in a heartbeat. Like,
Well, sometimes
but they're used to people fighting, not being
right. I was going
polite.
to say, you never know how people are going to react.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to find out before you adopt something, are you going to have trouble?
Yeah.
Are you going to have trouble from a third party? And getting through the trademark office is not always a
The
slam dunk.
government. Yeah, it's the government.
There are things that can come up, and you want to know if you're going to have problems, because those problems mean spent money.
Yeah. And money that you want
So,
to have to do stuff with. Exactly.
so if you can talk to an attorney, have them do a search, have them come back and tell you, is the mark clear? Can you use it? Are you going to run into problems in the registration
Mm-hmm.
process? There's a cost for the search, but again, it's
Yeah.
in the long run, it may wind up saving you some money and some
Mm-hmm.
aggravation.
One thing I did check. I had someone do a search for me on Entrepreneurs Enigma, and they're like, if Entrepreneurs Magazine wants to get litigious, they can, and then just give it to them. But most likely they're not, because entrepreneur is such a broad term as it is that they're probably gonna, and you're such a small fry. They're like,
Right.
whatever. If anything helps, honestly, I personally think they help their brand. So they might think
I
otherwise, but you never know. So
Right, right. But
it's fun
yeah,
times.
so that's back to your question. That's what I would say. That's the
Yeah.
sequence I would do things, and get it started early. Even if you wait to do certain things, get started early so you have a plan and you know what
At
steps
least
to
check
take.
the mission that the mark is fine. Like with Goldstein Media, we checked the Pennsylvania, we checked internationally. I mean, it's Goldstein Media Group, but they're registered in California, and they're a lawyer.
Okay.
They have nothing to do with web design. And
Right.
back in 2007, I talked to an attorney. They're like, "Don't worry about it. As long as you're in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, you're fine. Like it wasn't taken in Pennsylvania. You're LLC. You're like whatever. You're not going for investment." And so I'm like, fine, whatever. Backed up and just kind of ran with it. So,
Yeah.
but
No.
trademark wise, the logo is something always something that's trademarkable. Hey.
Hey, well, that's something we can talk about. But and all these things can be talked about. And one thing to keep in mind. This is for later on, because
Yeah,
I wouldn't start with this. Trademarks are not limited to names or logos. Almost anything can be a trademark. You can have
a saying.
color.
Yeah.
You can have color as a trademark.
Wow.
You can have product configuration as a trademark. Color, think Tiffany blue. product
Yeah.
configuration, think the Coke bottle.
Yeah.
You can even have a scent.
Wow.
Hasbro, I believe it's Hasbro, has a trademark registration for the scent of Play-Doh.
Ew. I guess they have too much money to spend at that point. It's like, ew.
I can't say what prompted them to get it, but they do have one.
They have money, so why not at that point? And they're like, this kind of smells interesting. Kids don't like to eat it, thank God, or they do. Still.
Depends on the kid.
Exactly. So, Mark, where, if they want to find out more about, trademarking, all that, where can they find you? And we'll have the links in the show notes. But like, where's your hangout of where do you hang out the most online?
Right, LinkedIn.
Yeah. What a surprise. If you said Facebook, I'd be like, excuse me. No, you're on LinkedIn. Off at Kerman.com. Don't try. I'm not going to have you spell it. It'll be in the show notes.
Perfect.
But this has been so great, Mark. I'm so glad to get you on. I'm glad that, because a lot of these entrepreneurs come on here and they're like, I'm just starting. And I'm like, I've been here, but oh no, this happened, and the headaches and stuff. Yeah.
So I'm going to say two things. First, thank you so much for having me on. Much appreciated. I've certainly enjoyed chatting. And, working with entrepreneurs is fun. I mean, there's all sorts of new and interesting stuff that people are coming out with and people are thinking up. And I always like seeing the creativity and
you help to protect it.
Yeah, and I want to, my job is to protect it.
Absolutely, and that's great. That's a great place to stop there. And guess what? We'll see everyone next time.
Thanks, Seth.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.